Hello everyone, and welcome back to episode 3 of my F1 2016 Sauber career mode. Guys, if you have not checked out the last episode, I would highly recommend doing so, and if you guys are also not subscribed yet, I would recommend doing that as well. This Sauber career mode so far has actually brought up some pretty damn good racing. You know, we've actually been able to push this Sauber a lot more than I thought I would, but today we're here at the Chinese Grand Prix, the third round of the season. And as you can see, moving straight into free practice on our track acclimatization lap, it was a very, very wet practice session, and that doesn't really bode well, I learnt, for the Sauber, because this was the first wet running we actually did in the Sauber. I'm pretty certain throughout this whole season it definitely didn't rain in Bahrain. I'm pretty certain it didn't rain in Australia, and this car just refuses to turn in the rain, which is a bit of a shame, you know, I won't lie. But still, moving on to the end of our track acclimatization lap, we just scraped purple there. Overall, you can afford to do everything purple and one red, and you still get purple. I'm pretty certain on every track. But moving on now to our qualifying test lap, qualifying simulation lap even. And coming towards line after we completely bottle the final corner, we still go purple once again, which is looking very, very strong for us. So let's move on then into qualifying, obviously the next thing that follows on in the weekend. And I won't lie, guys, we were struggling in qualifying. We'd already ran one lap that had put us, as you can see, in P20 there, and I was really struggling to find a lot more pace at the car in qualifying. I don't know what it was, but we were really, really struggling to get the speed out of the car, and I don't know, this car definitely isn't suited to this track. There's a lot of high-speed corners in Sector 2 once again, and also a lot in Sector 1. And that really just didn't suit the car. As you can see there, we managed to get up P18, which is definitely not what we wanted to achieve. And by the end of the session, that's all we could do, guys. Which is a huge, huge shame for us, I won't lie. You know, the first time you haven't made it into Q3 this whole season so far. But still, let's move on then into the Chinese Grand Prix.
Hard work, ingenuity and ambition. All things you'll find in abundance amongst the 15 million people of Shanghai over there to our southeast. And we've got plenty of that here on the grid as well. 20,000 horsepower, give or take, chomping at the bit to be unleashed for the Chinese Grand Prix. Shanghai International Circuit then, a 16-corner high-speed thrill ride. The long and ever-tightening right-hander at turns 1 and 2 tests a driver's patience, and the flat, open to the elements location, tests their skill in a crosswind. 2 DRS zones will assist passing, and overtaking is available into turn 1 and of course down the kilometre-long back straight into the hairpin at turn 14. Joining me once again to take you through this race is the effervescent Anthony Davidson, and I'm very much looking forward to it getting underway. You raced here, of course, didn't you, back in your Super Aguri days in that infamous Chinese Grand Prix of 2007?
Yeah, that's right. I didn't last that long though, unfortunately. Qualifying had gone pretty well, but my brakes failed quite early in the race, around lap 10 or 11, something like that. And of course, back in 2004, I was the very first Formula 1 driver to complete a lap of this circuit. Just thought I'd mention that for you, Crofty. You like a good stat. It's a fairly tough circuit on the brakes here though, you know, there's that long back straight down into turn 14, and then you've got turns 6 and 11. They're quite heavy as well. On top of that, managing your front tyre wear is always a challenge around here, so there's a lot to keep in mind during the Grand Prix.
Okay, not where we wanted you to be, so we'll need you to push hard in the race.
So before the off, let's remind ourselves of yesterday's qualifying session with a look at the starting grid. Nico Rosberg will start his silver arrow from pole position, and Max Verstappen lines up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Raikkonen, Hamilton, Sebastian Vettel and Ricciardo, Massa, Sainz, Alonso and Roman Grosjean, Bottas, Button, Esteban Gutierrez and Hulkenberg, KYVAT, Perez, Pascal Wehrlein and a Sauber, Magnussen and Ericsson, Jolyon Palmer and Rio Haryanto completes the grid. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
So here we are then, guys, on the grid for the Chinese Grand Prix. We're actually going to stick to what the team recommend we do tyre strategy wise today. As you know, I really am not a fan. China is probably the worst track on F1 for just not being able to stretch the tyres long enough, as much as you would like. But when it comes to fuel, guys, we actually aren't going to underfuel the car as much as I originally planned to, just because after what happened last time at Bahrain, I don't want to repeat that, you know. I looked, it's not the fact that we did run out of fuel, it's the fact that I looked silly by saying I finished P12 when I didn't. But still, yeah, so here we are, then we're going to give the car 14 laps worth of fuel. When it comes to the tyre strategy, the team actually wanted to pit us very late on the first stint, which I don't know whether I'm actually going to be able to keep the tyres out for long enough to, be able to hold that. But obviously we'll have to wait and see. A 14-lap race, I'm pretty certain, around this Shanghai circuit, right behind Pascal Wehrlein on the grid. I'm pretty certain the Force Indias are the cars just ahead of him. But let's move on then onto the formation lap. Obviously, we usually skip through most of this lap, obviously just because it's so unimportant on this game, and I've actually found out that actually warming up the tyres and using the tyres actually increases the wear absolutely massively, which if you guys watch my AOR highlights is why I literally, when I'm on pole, I slow the grid down so much, because they're all more than happy to weave, and I know it's just valuable tyre wear. So there we go, cheeky hint for you guys there. But let's move on then into the Chinese Grand Prix. 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. And away we go for the Chinese Grand Prix. Pascal Wehrlein actually gets off to a very good start there. As you can see, Gutierrez does not do so well from a couple of rows ahead. And they're going to go 4 wide into turn 1 there. We have a little look up Pascal Wehrlein's inside, but think better of it. As now come yellow flags out. I'm not really sure what that was all about, but we had a little sneak up the inside. But unfortunately got all those illegal overtakes. And the illegal overtake was actually on Pascal Wehrlein, the original car we tried to overtake there. So we've only made 1 position off the start, as Esteban Gutierrez completely bottled his start there, guys. Rather unfortunate for him, obviously, but after all the racing we did with him last time out, it's quite nice to, think he's behind us at the moment. But coming now into turn 3, we're actually going to jump straight past Pascal Wehrlein there. He broke so well, and we actually had a look up the inside of Danny KYVAT there. Are we going to be able to make that position stick? I think he's going to give us the squeeze on the run up to turn 5 there. He does, he makes us push the wheel on the grass, but we managed to get an absolute wonderful move right around the outside of the young Russian there. And we move up into P15 of the Grand Prix. Now I think just behind the Force Indias of Perez and Hulkenberg, obviously, be quite nice to overtake my old team, as obviously, just for bragging rights as such, to prove the Sauber isn't a heap of junk, as everyone knows it is. But now moving on to lap 2, as you can see, we've actually closed in on Nico Hulkenberg, coming it towards turn 1, though, the very long turn 1. Are we going to be able to have a look up the inside, just making sure we get the turn in absolutely beautiful? We actually managed to sneak up the inside of both Force Indias there, absolutely humiliating those guys there. Pretty damn good move, just, tucking it up the inside there, pretty easy to do, I won't lie. And now, as you can see, moving towards the end of lap 2 here, we're right behind Jensen Button, and he is in an absolutely huge train that extends well up into the top 10. I think that's at the P7, I think that's the Williams of, it might be Felipe Massa up in P7 at this stage of the race. But obviously I don't know what's causing this little almost logjam style thing, but I'm definitely not going to sit around and waste time just watching it go by. I'm going to try and make some positions. See, they're going 3 wide up ahead of us here. Are we going to be able to make any positions into the braking zone from very far back? No, we do not. But we have a look around the outside of Jensen Button, and unfortunately we tag him there, and that has sent Button right around, and I'm so sorry, Jensen, to do that to you. I didn't think, we'd end up having that. Sebastian Vettel dives into the pit lane there as well. Obviously, for some of the AI, this will have to be a 2-stop Grand Prix, as obviously, as I said, the tyre wear is just so poor around here. They're really going to have to stretch the super softs if they want to make it work. But now, as you can see, Perez just flying straight past, obviously, Force India, straightlinespeed.com, as we have a little look around the outside, make a tiny bit of contact with him there, but try and hold it around the outside. But once again, the Mercedes power unit versus the 2015 Ferrari power unit. Don't even know why I'm even trying to hold him off there. But as we can see, a few more AI do actually dive into the pit lane there. We're actually going to move up into P8, P7 if we can get back past Sergio. And we're going to have a look up the inside into turn 1. Should be a fairly textbook move. And yes, we do. We move back over to P7 of the Grand Prix, as we actually opt to try and change our 1 stop to lap 4 there. But I'm probably going to end up keeping it out until probably lap 6, lap 7, I would have thought. Just because the tyre wear, you really want to just try and balance it out so that you've got no point where you're really strangling the tyres. But now, as you can see, coming towards the end of lap 4, this is pretty much setting up a common theme for the rest of the race. We've got Sergio Perez about to fly back past us. Is he going to be able to make the move stick around the outside and go very defensive into the corner, but trying to outbrake him as much as we possibly can, park it on the apex, and we hold on to our P7 in the Grand Prix. Perez now has a look up around our outside here, so really not afraid to go for overtakes. Is he going to be able to hold it up the inside into the final corner? He does so, but I get a beautiful switchback move on him there, and move up into P6 of the races. We've seen another couple of AI come into the pits, and we end up moving up into P3 of the race there, as just most of the AI on these super soft tyres now have had to make their pit stops. And as we can see there, Perez and Hulkenberg have come together, and that's not gone well for those guys. Hulkenberg, I think, was just facing the wrong way around, got on the exit at turn 1 there, so Force India really not going to be happy about what's happened there. Not too sure what really happened between those guys, but still, I'm not going to complain. As we can see now, though, on lap 6, it was time for our one and only pit stop of the day. Hoping, we nail the pit entrance. Don't want to do a Lewis Hamilton of 2007 there. But coming into the pit lane, are we going to be able to nail the stop line? Yes, we do. But let's just see how many positions we lose. One of the AI, Danny KYVAT there, has decided to follow us in his Toro Rosso, proving that, we haven't made a terribly bad strategy call at this stage. There's quite a few teams out at the moment, so obviously it's going to be quite difficult to, be able to maintain good high track positions. The man holds us up there, and KYVAT manages to jump us there, and that is not what we wanted to see. That was a huge, huge disappointment for us then. We really needed to stay ahead of KYVAT, and you can see just how much time he's gained over us as we come out the pits in P19. Danny KYVAT and Sebastian Vettel getting very, very violent with each other coming towards turn 1, and we managed to slip up the inside of Danny KYVAT, so we get that position straight back from him. And, cheers Sebastian, but, you and KYVAT really shouldn't have been doing that. That cost you both a heck of a lot of time there. I won't lie, but I'm not going to complain as we move back up into P18 of the Grand Prix. Obviously, we've got a lot more AI that do need to make their pit stops still. But obviously, we'll be waiting to see when they make their stops in the coming laps. Now moving on to the end of lap 7, coming towards the final, towards the start of lap 8. How many AI are we going to be able to jump into the pits? We actually move up 4 positions up into P14 of the race there. So a few more AI, that it's clear that they are not trying to stretch their tyres far too long. Don't know whether they try and go onto the super softs to the end of the race, for example. But now, towards the start of lap 9 here, how many more positions are we going to be able to make? I think we're going to move up into P11 of the Grand Prix there, and this is what's happened last time out as well. We've got Danny KYVAT right behind me as well. Next thing you know, we could have Esteban Gutierrez behind him, and we could just see an absolute repeat of what happened last time out. Something I really do want to avoid in this Grand Prix. But now moving on to the long back straight here, the Sauber, obviously, as we saw from the start of the race, like I said, there was a repeating theme going on here, and that was other drivers absolutely slaughtering me down the straight there. As you see, Danny KYVAT gets past with absolutely no trouble whatsoever. We're going to have to dive bomb him into the second last corner there. We managed to get the position back into the final corner, into the second last corner once again, sorry. Just squeezing him out on the exit curb there to make sure, he knows we're keeping this position for now. Obviously, we'll try and hold him off for as long as we can, and I'm pretty certain, guys, we do actually have Esteban Gutierrez behind Danny KYVAT. But my main aim at this point was actually to try and close in on Romain Grosjean. But with fresher tyres, that just was never going to happen, I won't lie, guys. It was a bit of a shame, because we kind of couldn't push the soft tyres any further. But the AI just seemed to have literally zero tyre wear around here. Danny KYVAT absolutely slaughters us once again. Are we going to be able to have to hold it around the outside this time? We're having a look for it. We're going to go for the cutback move there. Are we going to be able to get good traction out of the final corner? I don't think we've done enough. No, we have not, as Danny KYVAT moves straight back past us. Are we going to be able to make a position down into turn 1 like we managed to do to Sergio Perez? That's very much just our last-ditch attempt there, as we've run a little bit wide on the exit of the final corner. Now we've just 3 laps to go in this Grand Prix. Absolutely beautiful toe towards turn 1 there, and we move back up the inside of Danny KYVAT there, and back up into P11 of the Chinese Grand Prix, with Romain Grosjean still just ahead of him. If anyone has an engine failure in the top 10, that'd be so crucial for us. Or even just a crash between a couple of AI that ends up costing one of them. But as we can see, now moving on to the final lap of the Grand Prix here. As you can see, we've got Romain Grosjean still just ahead of us, but Esteban Gutierrez now has moved past Danny KYVAT. He's on a set of soft tyres here, so he's just going to be so quick, as he has a look upper inside there, and he actually manages to get the position to stick, as we run a little bit wide there, trying to be a bit too cautious with him, as Danny KYVAT now takes the opportunity as well. We're going to try and hold it up the inside of the pair of them. Are we going to go down the inside? We look down the inside into turn 4 there, on the inside of Esteban Gutierrez, but the traction of that force, of that Haas there, on the exit of the corner, especially with those soft tyres, there was just no coming back against that. As we can see, he's instantly just pulled away from us, both myself and Danny KYVAT. So, oh dear, it's happened again, is the quote I think is fair to use there. And that is such a shame for us, because it just seems that teams like Haas, but obviously with the newer Ferrari power unit as well, just seem to have so much extra oomph over us. Their car probably isn't actually the quickest. The Toro Rosso actually probably has a very strong chassis here, which unfortunately, obviously, they run the 2015 Ferrari power unit as well, which isn't working out well for them. But we're pretty much just barging Danny KYVAT there through the second sector, through to the long back straight here. But as you can see, he instantly just pulls away from us, guys. And that is unfortunately going to mean that unless something miraculous happens, obviously I don't want to speak too soon again, that we are going to, at best, be able to take home P13 here. Also note, guys, my teammate Marcus Ericsson actually did pretty well, to get him to P14. As soon as I say that, Pascal Wehrlein just moved straight past him. But is Ericsson going to be able to get the position back? I was honestly tempted, just slow Wehrlein down to hope Ericsson would get the position back. But P13 then, guys, in the end, in the Chinese Grand Prix, a bit of a disappointing race there in the end, I won't lie, you know. After Australia, I kind of was hoping that, you know, we would be able to score points consistently for the next few races, but we'll obviously have to wait to see. Russia's, again, a very, very strong track. I mean, the first ever race we took a win at on this F1 2016 game. But Toto Wolff, once again, is very, very happy with Lewis Hamilton, I'm pretty certain, taking his second win of the season. Sorry, no, Nico Rosberg. I cannot read to save my life, guys. I'm incredibly, incredibly sorry to Nico there. Hamilton gets P2 though in the end, and I'm pretty certain it was Kimi Räikkönen P3. As Sebastian Vettel, I'm 99% certain how to make a two-stop strategy of that race. But as we can see, that is a cluster of cars facing the wrong way. And there is a Red Bull. There is a Red Bull floating. I don't know who that was. That must have been Daniel Ricciardo. He was floating as he tried getting out of his car there. So that's a bit of an odd graphical glitch there, guys. But still, there we are. Then Nico Rosberg takes his first win of the season. 3 different drivers taken the first 3 races of the championship. I'm pretty certain Lewis Hamilton, though, will still be leading the championship, as he had a very, very strong showing in the first 2 races. He's maintained podiums in every single Grand Prix so far. But anyway, guys, I hope you have enjoyed this video. As I said at the start, guys, don't forget to like, subscribe for more of my F1 2016 Sauber career mode. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to leave you guys now with the points, and I will see you next time. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.